4, 3, 2.
Welcome to Meet the Court. I'm your host, Jawad Johnson. Meet the Court is brought to you as a public service by the Superior Court of New Jersey in Atlantic and Cape May counties, as well as the Cape May Technical High School, to better inform you, the public, on the workings of the court and the role of the judiciary in our communities. Our topic, Community Safe Surrender. What is this program that helps so many people in our community? Our guests, the Honorable Louis Belasco, presiding judge of the municipal courts in Atlantic and Cape May County. Welcome, Judge.
Thank you, Jawad. Good to be here.
And Jill Houck, assistant trial court administrator in the Atlantic and Cape May counties. Welcome, Jill.
Welcome, thank you.
So, my first question, explain to our viewers what Community Safe Surrender is and what the event looks like.
A community safe surrender event allows a member of the public who may have a bench warrant go to a safe, neutral place like a church or a school to meet with judiciary staff to determine whether they have any bench warrants and where those bench warrants might be. Bench warrants that can be recalled are recalled on site, and then if sometimes the person can actually see a judge either at the school or the church or go to a municipal court that's close by. But the most important thing about the event is that no one is arrested. Even if it's a bench warrant that cannot be recalled, no one gets arrested. They have the option to leave the neutral place with that warrant and handle it later.
So no one gets arrested. That's fascinating.
There's a perception, Jawad, that this is a setup, that people will really be arrested, and we want to clear that up because this in no way is set up to arrest anyone.
So we'll talk more about that. But before we do, can you give some examples? You said schools, churches. Where else can these events be held?
Well, so far we've held them at several community centers, at a church, and most recently at the Lighthouse Church in Cape May Courthouse.
And why did you choose these locations?
The towns were chosen because these towns where we've had these events, two in Atlantic City so far, one in Pleasantville and one in Middle Township, because those communities do have a higher percentage of bench warrants, as well as may have some lower socioeconomic population. So the people that we want to help more, but obviously we help everyone that comes through the door.
Judge, how important is the socioeconomic situation of the folks that come through the door and rectifying it?
So many people get themselves in a hole with court fines that are legislatively set. Courts, we have very little discretion in setting fines, but they get further and further in debt, deeper and deeper in a hole, and they often just will throw up their hands and ignore it. And this gives them an opportunity to address what they owe in a reasonable manner without fear of having warrants over their head.
So that sounds like really important work. Can you explain to me any other reasons why these events are so important?
Well, these bench warrants that are addressed are for minor offenses and minimal amounts. However, when someone has a bench warrant, it might preclude them from getting substance abuse treatment, housing, a job. So someone that wants to address their court matters or get help for themselves sometimes can be excluded from those programs if they have a bench warrant. So clearing up these bench warrants allows the person to get more help for themselves, and it also allows them to drive without anxiety with their kids in the car, have contact with law enforcement. It really does increase public safety.
Seems like it can help their credit and their job outlook as well, because they don't have to worry about these things in the background.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So it sounds like a lot of work. Are the courts the only organizations involved in these events?
No, this is definitely a partnership. The local police department is involved, not to arrest people, but actually they're the ones that have to recall the warrants. But they also, help us organize the event, the local municipal courts, and also we partner with a local charity that will assist us with, providing volunteers, providing the facility, and community resources also show up as well and are available to help people.
So how many people do you typically serve at one of these events?
We've had between 100 to over 500.
Wow, over 500 people.
Yeah, our first event in Cape May County just last month, we served 95 people. The one before that in Atlantic City, I think that final number was about 525.
So it seems the reason why you can have to have these events at a place like a school or a community center, because you're attracting a lot of individuals. Have any of those individuals been arrested?
No. And some people did have warrants that could not be recalled, and they chose the option, you know, to leave with that bench warrant, and they were not arrested.
Okay. So some critics will probably say, well, this sounds like it's soft on crime. Any response to that criticism?
Well, Jawad, as Jill has said, this gives people the opportunity to get a warrant recalled. Now they can go look for a job. We have the Motor Vehicle Commission on site. They have the opportunity to work through driver's license issues and eventually get their driver's license back and be able to drive. So if they can get their lives back in order and hopefully get a job, it probably has the advantage of reducing crime rather than soft on crime. It's not a program that is aimed at wiping out all criminal debt. That's not what we're there for. So no, I would say it's not really soft on crime. It has a neutral effect. If anything, it may help people get back on track.
So piggybacking on that, it seems like you're bringing folks up to 500 into a place where they can have a one-stop shop, where a lot of services are being rendered for them right then and there. Does that have an overall benefit to public safety and maybe save the taxpayers some money?
I think it certainly does. And the benefit to public safety is, well, law enforcement's not at risk going out and serving these warrants and walking into a situation behind closed doors that they don't know what's going to happen to them. The public's not at risk by somebody getting pulled over in a car, realizing they have a warrant and speeding off to avoid apprehension. This gives the opportunity for them to do one-stop shopping, come here, get their warrants recalled, and maybe get some benefits. We had somebody at the Middle Township event, and we were able to hook them up with a treatment bed that day to get them into drug treatment because of other problems that they were dealing with in their life.
So it sounds like this has an opportunity to not only save money, but save lives and save individuals from fates that maybe they didn't want to encounter and they've been avoiding all this time.
When we were in Middle Township, I saw someone that came up from South Carolina. We had someone that came from Maryland. I spoke to a gentleman that moved out of New Jersey because of child support and municipal warrants and was living in Delaware. And he had children here. This gave him the opportunity to deal with these issues and come back and hopefully ignite his relationship with his children.
So are there plans to continue offering this type of outreach? We have about 30 seconds.
Jill and
Absolutely.
I have met recently, right, Jill?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're planning an event in December that will be in Galloway. But again, all warrants in Atlantic and Cape May County will be addressed. So, you know, anyone can attend, you know, but it will likely be in December in Galloway. And then again in Atlantic City in approximately May or June.
Thank you. This is Meet the Court. I'm your host, Jawad Johnson. We're back with our guests discussing community safe surrender after this message.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you mind if in the first question I address like open T-pays, even if they have stuff without warrants?
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, we're doing it, right?
Well,
Or is that somewhere else?
Anywhere else it is, Judge, if we
I think it's on
reiterate
the
it.
third one, but probably no problem mentioning it more than once.
Yeah,
'Cause we have
absolutely.
people-
And you can even go, as I said in the last
Yeah.
segment, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would mention it both times. So
Just
get the
flow,
message across.
just flow with the answers naturally, and if we get redundant, we'll
Yeah.
just
We'll just
repeat
repeat it. It
repeat
doesn't
it.
hurt
Right.
sometimes to
Right.
repeat
Absolutely.
Yeah, like
Get the message out.
that doesn't hurt to be repeated.
Yep. Especially because we position a lot of these questions where it's new information each time. So. Welcome back to Meet the Court. I'm your host, Jawad Johnson. We've been discussing community safe surrender and its benefits as a whole to the public with our guests, Judge Belasco and Jill Hauk. So my next question is, when people have active warrants and they're interested in coming to an event like we just described, what should they know before coming?
They should know, Jawad, that they're going to walk into a large auditorium, and we have about 35 to 45 volunteers from the Superior Court, from Municipal Court, all in uniform pretty much, that they'll be able to pick out these people. They'll be signed in, they'll be given a number, they'll be processed through a computer bank that's tied to the internet so we can look everything up on them. They should be prepared, though, to come to one of these events knowing what they owe. Do they have a child support warrant? Do they have a probation issue? Do they owe monies to various municipal courts other than just one? Even if they owe money and it's not on a warrant yet, it might be. So they should be able to help the screener can come up with all of their information so that we can address the whole person at one time.
So they need to know what's going on in their lives so that they can better assist us with helping to resolve some of these things. So Jill had mentioned that there are certain types of warrants we can and certain type of warrants that we cannot recall. Starting first, what type of warrants can be recalled at this type of event?
The warrants that can be recalled will be warrants for municipal court cases such as a traffic ticket or a criminal complaint where they failed to appear. They just ignored it and did not come to court. We can recall warrants where someone has been to court, municipal court, they owe money, they fell behind, they failed to keep their money up, the court issued a warrant. That's a warrant we can recall. We have some minor indictable charges, a little more serious, 3rd and 4th degree charges, and if they have warrants for those, we have the ability to recall most of those warrants. Child support warrants. We are doing, the last one we did was on a Friday during a work day. We were able to recall some child support warrants for people also.
So we talked about what can be cleared, so give me some examples of what cannot be cleared.
We haven't run into this yet, but if somebody has a 1st or 2nd degree charge, very, very serious assault charges, robberies, they're not going to be cleared.
Okay.
They're going to have to turn themselves in. We have made a decision that if somebody has an active warrant because they received a drunk driving ticket and never showed up in court, we're not going to recall that warrant. They're not going to get arrested on site, as Jill said earlier, but they're going to have to leave there realizing there's a warrant and they need to turn themselves in as soon as possible.
So if I have a 1st or 2nd degree charge and I show up, that won't get me arrested right then and there, but I know that I have to walk out of there and deal with it before it does lead to my arrest.
Yes, and we have had some 2nd degree charges that could have their warrant recalled. It's basically my discretion, based on the scenario. If it's something that I think should be recalled despite it being 2nd degree, then I do contact a judge to get permission to recall it. But 1st degree, that's a different story.
Okay. So what can people expect the process to be like when they walk in the door?
Well, be patient. We have to do a lot of background research. They should not expect to walk in at 9 o'clock and walk out at 9:30. We do have some snacks, we do have a friendly waiting area, but we need their patience. It does take some time.
Snack sounds like a good idea,
Yeah.
or something like that. So I got my driver's license suspended as a result of some of the issues that I had in my past. Are my driving privileges able to be restored at something like this?
That is a big issue, Jawad. And unfortunately, we can't, because the judiciary did not suspend their driving privileges. That suspension came through the Motor Vehicle Commission. However, at our last event, we had a representative from the Regional Service Center of the Motor Vehicle Commission, and I think he must have talked to 30 different people and took their information down. They will work with them, working through motor vehicle issues, whether it be surcharges or restoration fees or whatever it is, to eventually get them restored. But people should know they're not going to walk out of this event with their driving privileges back. However, they will walk out of this event a long way toward that goal of getting their driver's license back.
So they'll be on the road to having their driver's license restored, no pun intended.
Right. They're on that road.
All right. So a person comes with a warrant from another county, like Essex or Hudson. Can we deal with that at our community safe surrender event?
Unfortunately, no. We only have the jurisdiction to recall the Atlantic and Cape May County warrants. So if someone has an out-of-county warrant, we give them the information, we give them the phone number to call to, address the warrant, and so we give them paperwork, and then also after the event, the court will notify that particular court that John Smith showed up at this event, so they know to expect him or her, and hopefully they will give them a little bit of credence for showing up at our event.
Okay, so maybe not an out-of-county warrant, but how about a Pennsylvania warrant or a Delaware warrant? Can those be cleared?
No, and actually we don't even know if someone has an out-of-state warrant because we're not checking them outside of the state of New Jersey. If someone asks and says they have an out-of-state warrant, we would just, again, give them the information, but that's all we could do.
So, on average, how many warrants are cleared at these events?
It ends up being about one per person who attends. So some people don't have warrants. They might just come because they have fines or they think they have a warrant and they just haven't gotten there yet. So it ends up being about one warrant per person.
Wow. This is Meet the Court, and I'm your host, Joa Johnson. We'll be back with our guests, Judge Belasco and Jill Houck, after these messages.
That one went fast.
Yeah, super fast. Bob gave me the
With me before.
Yeah, that would be good.
That would be good.
I would assume we
5,
could.
4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to Meet the Court. I'm your host, Joa Johnson, and we're continuing our conversation on safe surrender with our guests, Judge Belasco and Jill Houck. So, if someone can't pay all of their fines on that day, what do they do?
Actually, Jawad, we're not collecting any money at these events. If someone has fines they owe and they work out a new payment plan, they will leave with a payment order. But what we did the last time, and we are probably going to continue this, is we have set up 3 on-site courtrooms. So someone will be able to see a judge that day, and if they'll work out their fines, they'll be given a payment order, and they can leave without paying any money that day. Now, when they get there, they should know that our security guidelines require there be law enforcement protecting the judges. So there are some uniformed law enforcement officers there. They're not roaming the floor. They're kind of out of the way, and we keep the courts in the back, not out in the front where all the activity is.
So you have 3 courtrooms going. And they get an order to pay their fines, but where do they go from there?
From there, they would go to their municipal court, whatever municipal court they have. We have tried to partner with the municipal court that is the host municipality. So if we're having our next one in Galloway, people will be able to go that same day right to the Galloway Township Municipal Court if they owe money to Galloway and pay their fines that they owe to Galloway there, or get their monthly payments started there. If they owe fines to Egg Harbor Township or to Ocean City or to another court, then they're going to have to deal with those other courts, not through Galloway.
So I have a bunch of different fines. Can my fines be lumped into one payment?
That would be wonderful, but it's a huge IT undertaking from the whole state of New Jersey, so we can't do that right now. What we have is we hope that our courts coordinate their payment plans so that we come up with a realistic monthly figure, and a person would pay each court so much per month what they owe.
That would sound like a real benefit. So are you able to, at these events, look up what fines I may have that I don't maybe not be aware of or don't remember? Can someone look up my whole entire case history?
We absolutely do that. In fact, we have found outstanding fines that people did not know about, and we were able to address everything. And the beauty of that is we can get to that payment plan reestablished before it becomes a warrant.
So our viewers who are watching this, and if they may have a fine or a warrant in their background and they're looking to take care of it, do they have to wait until one of these events to take care of the fines, or if they're inspired, can they go and take care of it right away?
Absolutely not. Most of our municipal court administrators that run our municipal courts, and Jill can address for child support, but if somebody comes to court and wants to address their fines, they can be set up to see a judge. They can probably have their warrant recalled, and they can go over their financial status with the judge to get to a realistic payment plan, something that they know that they can meet every month, and that the court will expect the money to come in every month so that we don't have any warrants.
So warrants and fines, are they the only court matters that are being addressed at these events?
We have other matters being addressed. We have some child support matters that were addressed at all of our events that we've run, correct?
Yes, child support staff is always on staff. We also have information about drug court, expungements, family court information. So we address other things, but most people do come for, to get their warrants recalled.
So you mentioned child support and that we can recall the bench warrants, but how about my payments? Can they work out the payments that I have there?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes they will give the person a court date because they can't work out their payment with the staff on site. They will have to ask the judge, but child support will give them all that information.
And I would have questions maybe for a probation officer. Are there probation officers at these events that can help me with questions that I might have?
Most of the judiciary staff that is working at the event are probation officers because those are the ones trained to perform the background checks.
So the judge mentioned that there are police there, and he mentioned that they hang back, but what are they doing there? What's their role?
They're there to provide, security just in case something does happen. But, they know from the start that no one gets arrested, even if they leave with an active warrant. And the chiefs of police are fine with that, and they agree with it.
I'll have to say that in the 4 events we have run so far, the host municipality, chief of police, and law enforcement have been very supportive of what we're doing.
So I need to get my record cleared, and I need help with an expungement. Is there any information there about expungements?
Yes, we have a ton of information on expungements. Legal Services of South Jersey Legal Services, always attends these events, and they help people with expungements, filling out the paperwork, filing it, and walking the person through the process.
So I know there's no guarantee about how much fines and fees can be waived or adjusted, but what's the biggest success story that you can recall about someone who had a large amount of fines or fees and had those adjusted or done in a way that they could afford?
I saw a person at one of our recent events, and they came in on a warrant that was about 13 years old. Their record showed that they had no other criminal activity since then. They fell on real hard times. They had some addiction issues. He lost a good paying job, and based upon his financial status and where he stands now, I was able to give him a better payment plan and give him credit for a lot and vacate some of that fine money that he owed. He's very thankful, and he got into a realistic position where he could pay and afford a small amount per month.
Wow. So it sounds like folks who may show up at these events also may be looking for answers at other places. Is there information on housing, health care, and drug treatment?
Yes, all that information is available. We have drug treatment resources. We have housing information and housing resources available. Almost any community resource that you can think of is at the event.
So it sounds like an event like this is a one-stop shop for someone who may be trying to get their life back on track, or maybe had some past historical issues and now they're trying to work those out because they can. Is there anything that you would say to our viewing public that they should know about coming to an event? Judge, we'll start with you.
Well, I would tell the public that this is not an event set up to trick them and to get them arrested. That the judiciary, our volunteers, are there to help them. And we realistically want to work with them and put them on a plan that they can achieve success. They can get a job, they can work to get their driving privileges back, they can take care of child support, and they can essentially turn their lives around. And that's what we're hoping for.
That's great. And Jill, 30 seconds for you.
I just always tell people it's a judgment-free zone. It's like Planet Fitness. We don't care why you have the bench warrant. It doesn't matter what the backstory is. We're just here to help the person. And there's an old Japanese proverb, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. So we're hoping that these events help the person stand up for the 8th time.
Well, that sounds great. And I hope that they're able to do this too, and that our messages help folks who are in need bring themselves to one of these events if they need it. Well, we are just about out of time. I'd like to thank our panel, Judge Louis Belasco and Jill Hauk, for joining us today on Meet the Court, and I'd like to thank you, our audience, for being with us. This is Jawad Johnson, Goodbye for now.